what we go through on our weekly call with this is with my lead manager on the acquisition side. So by default, this is set to, when you come in last 7 days. So we do our weekly call every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. That's the same meeting, so when we come in, the data is already updated, so I don't have to do anything, but just for this purposes, I'm changing it to this year. Again, in my testing, also have some data populated. So what we're doing is, this is something we would have already gone through in our morning huddle. So when we're doing our weekly calls, we're basically going through every single lead that came into our pipeline. So we can see how many leads came in, how many appointments we had, how many offers, how many contracts. So the first thing I do is I personally go through based on the lead source that leads came in. So we'll have like 6 or 7 lead sources that we get lead from. Our PPC, paper lead, need to sell my house fast. And then, we'll get random direct mail lead right now in our market. So I'll click right here and then we'll see, okay, this is in, for example, no contact made. And if something I notice, in dead lead, I'll click on that lead and I'll just quickly review it to make sure, okay, this is in dead lead. So I'll go through and kind of, maybe listen to the call if something seems odd. And then if it goes to dead lead, then there would be a reason why it was moved to dead lead. Most of the time, the lead that's moved to dead lead, we notice that it was just, a solicitation call. So those are the leads. Another thing we notice in our market is if the initial call came in and it was just a missed call, and it's just a missed call, we'll put them on a drip for like 2 weeks. And after that, if you don't get a response, in those cases, we move it to a dead lead at that point. But I'll go through that. I'll review, just kind of looking at every single lead. So at any given time, we'll have about 30 to 35 leads coming in. So I'm going through every single lead, just kind of making sure, okay, we have the information. And then I'll click on that lead and see, all right, what's going on. If something is in contact made, appointment set, then that's, we'll go through those appointments separately. But initially, if something has been moved to dead lead, then I want to make sure that my lead manager did not move something to a dead lead that really is not a dead lead. And then also if something got moved to warm lead, I want to make sure that it wasn't a lead that we could have made an offer on and actively worked on, that if it went to warm lead, and there was a proper reason for it to go to warm lead. So that becomes like a training exercise also with your team member, just to kind of go over, okay, we moved this to dead lead, but we could have actually moved it to a warm lead, made an offer on it, moved it to warm lead, and just put them on an automated drip sequence or offer made drip sequence that we have. So that's what kind of we're going through on a weekly basis. And then also, especially on the paper lead and PPC leads, we go through and every single lead we're going through and making sure, okay, we got this lead coming in. Why did we have a lead come in from Texas, for example? It happens sometimes with PPC, we'll get like a random lead come in from a different part of the country. So if you notice, we got like, 2 or 3 in a week that came in, not from our market, just from random lead. So that's something we'll flag down. We'll reach to our PPC team and say, hey, we got these couple of leads from Texas, for example. I'm not sure why. Can you just check our PPC campaign and make sure we're just focused on Northwest Indiana market, for example. And same thing on our need to sell my house fast or any paper lead that we have. So we'll go through, if we have some paper lead, we'll click on that and make sure that if we have a whole bunch of leads that came from paper lead and we ended up moving them to dead lead, then I'll check with my lead manager, hey, what was the reason? Did we reach out to need to sell my house fast or wherever the lead came from, and try to get a credit if the house is, for example, listed on MLS, if the house is being sold by a wholesaler. They have like 4 or 5 different reasons. So we go through and make sure that if you're paying like $300 a month or $300 a lead for lead in from need to sell my house fast, and then if it's a lead that's not really a qualified lead, then we go back and get credit for that. The main thing the first thing I'm doing is I'm going through every single lead that came into our pipeline and just making sure that it's in the right stage where it needs to be. As you do more of these calls with the team member, they get trained on it and it becomes easier and easier. That goes much faster because you right away know, okay, this moved to dead lead. We have a number for Google My Business campaign where we've closed a couple of properties in the past, but in last year, we haven't gotten anything. So every week I'll notice like 2 or 3 leads will pop up from Google My Business, but those are always dead leads, just random missed call when we call them back. There's no voicemail, there's nothing set up, but we'll still see pop up. I'll just click on it. I'm like, oh, okay, you start noticing some interesting things. Even on the bandit signs, we did some bandit signs like a long time ago, 3-4 years ago, and then just stopped it after that. But we still have the number active, and we'll still get like every now and then random leads pop up, even though we're not using that number anymore. It'll still pop up, and then we'll click on it. We're like, oh, we know these are dead leads. So it just, once you've done it for a couple of times, you'll kind of start noticing some things that are happening on a weekly basis, and it makes it much more efficient. So the first thing we do is go through right here, and every single lead that I have by lead source, I'll go through and just see, okay, every single lead that I have, is it in the right stage in my pipeline or not? Whether it's an active lead, warm lead, or dead lead. So that's the first thing I'm making sure. And if my lead manager has any question about a particular lead, so this is the perfect time to go over, how would we handle this situation? Or if something like this happens, how should we handle that moving forward? So those kind of things we go through. So that's the first thing. Go through every single lead that we have based on the lead source, just to make sure that every lead that came in is in the right stage in your pipeline right now. The next thing we do is the appointments that we had this week. Again, they would be same leads that you had. Now, think of it as a funnel. You start out with, 50 leads, 50 of those, out of those 50 leads, maybe 10 will go into appointment. And then out of those 10, maybe 4 will go into offer, and 2 might go into contract. You're starting with the top part of the funnel, how many leads came in. The next thing is appointment. So this will go in and say, okay, so we had this appointment, and then we want to make sure where it is in our stage right now. So this one shows, due diligence. Again, this is in my test account. So you are not going to see due diligence stage in your pipeline, but I'll see, okay, this one is appointment. And then if I have an appointment coming up, let's say on this one, or the appointment already happened, or it's going to come up, then we'll see, all right, if there's anything that we need to look into with this appointment, any questions I have or lead manager has about this lead. So we'll go through that. So just like that, we'll go through every single appointment that we had in our pipeline to see, okay, what happened with that appointment? What was the outcome of it? Are we moving it along? Ideally, the goal should be once it goes into appointment, then we're making an offer on the property. And then from there, hopefully we're getting a contract on that. So that's what we would do. And after that, the next thing would be, once we've gone through our appointments, okay, how many of those properties did we make offers on? So we're going through those properties in our pipeline, just making sure, okay, these ones we made offers on, where is it sitting in our pipeline? Is it still sitting in offer made? If you made an offer, like what's going on? Like, why do we not have a signed contract? Is the seller going to sign, not going to sign? Then I'll go in, for example, if I have something like this, and we go through, and then we're waiting for a contractor walkthrough. So I'll go in and I'll tag somebody on my team and say, my project manager, can you please confirm with the contractor walkthrough the numbers we get, for example. So we'll go through and do that. So as I'm doing my weekly calls, I'll go into a lead. If I have a question follow-up for someone, either I'll tag them and add a note for them, or I'll create a task if I want something for my lead manager to do. So I'll just go in, I'll just create a task for my lead manager about, it might be from a template or something that needs to be followed up on. So we'll just go ahead and create a task, basically making sure that it's something, a next step for every single lead that we have. And if we have a property that we made offer on, and the seller says, for example, we made an offer of 100,000, the seller is not going to come below 150,000, then we'll go ahead and move it to an offer made follow-up sequence, and then just take it out of our offer made, move it to warm lead at that point. So we'll go through every single lead in our offer made, and the next thing is then we go through all the leads that we have in under contract, just to make sure the properties that are in under contract for us. Every property that we get under contract, we do contingent on a contractor walkthrough. So we'll make sure that we get our contractor walkthrough done within the timely period of making sure if the contingency expires, let's say tomorrow. So we make sure our project manager knows that we have only until tomorrow to get the contractors in and have a number. Otherwise, we'll be locked in if something, comes up with the contractor walkthrough, like a major foundation issue, or something going on that's like totally unexpected, then we'll be locked into the contract. So we'll go through that and make sure. And if like something comes up, then I'll tag my project manager on that and just make sure that somebody is following up on that or create a task for them. So those are the main things we're doing. And then for me, what I will do is I'll go through the KPIs. So this is kind of more on a monthly basis. I'll go through the KPIs for me in my business. I'll look at, okay, how much money did we spend in marketing this month? How much revenue did we get? I just kind of look at overall the data and the conversion for my financials, just to make sure that everything seems okay. Nothing really stands out, nothing significant that I noticed. If I noticed that we had 21 leads and then we had 0 qualified leads, for example, from paper leads. So if we're spending about $5,000 a month in need to sell my house fast, so we want to make sure that a big majority of those leads are qualified leads. So if I notice that we had 21 leads, for example, came in from my paper lead and all of them were unqualified leads, then you're catching that before you end up spending a lot of money, like tens of thousands of dollars. So I'll go through this on a monthly basis, but on a daily basis, like I mentioned, this is like we're looking through this section really quickly on our daily huddle, and then on a weekly basis, we're looking at this data. Where did all our leads come in from last 7 days? Which appointments did we have? How many offers did we make in the contracts that we got? So we're reviewing that on a weekly basis. So that's what we're doing on our daily huddle and weekly meetings.